The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Bill Mandry, Director of Sales for Heartland Tan, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm joined by special guest John Farr of the Power Group and publisher of some Biz Weekly.
Hello there, everybody. It's nice to be back on the webinar circuit here. I don't think I've done a webinar now for a good month or so, and so I'm kind of missing being on the microphone. So, Bill, thank you for inviting me being a speaker today.
I'm glad you can make it, John. Today, I want everybody to notice the comments link, and please enter your comments and questions in the chat box. We'd be happy to share them with the group as we go along the way. So let's have a look at today's agenda. So today we're going to be talking about new customer acquisition, some of the building blocks and how to use your website, the impact of customer reviews, building a referral program, which is really, really important. And we're going to talk a little bit today about radio. You know, John is a 5-time Mercury Award nominee for creative radio ad copy and production and is a real expert on radio. I think one of the things that is really underrated in today's environment.
Well, Bill, thank you for, oh, geez, that was a nice comp. Yeah, the Mercury Awards thing, that's a fun thing to do because I've been buying radio for 47 years. Yeah, I mean, a lot of markets, maybe some markets don't have access to radio. Some markets might be, some of the people that are on the call today may be in a huge market. They may have a single salon and radio may not be practical for them. But there are many markets where it is practical. It's just that you have to know how to do it. And just a quick comment, Bill, you're talking about acquisition. I, years ago, worked for a little company called Target, or the French version, I guess, is Target. And Target had built into their cost of operation what was called CCA and CCR. CCA was the cost of customer acquisition, and then CCR was the cost of customer retention. And I think that's one thing I would suggest, Bill, for your audience is that you have to keep in mind that your marketing cost should include that philosophy. There is going to be a cost to acquire new customers, which is what your webinar is all about today. And then there's a cost of retention. So just thought I'd throw that in there, my friend. Bill, are you there?
You have to think of it more as the lifetime value of that customer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about, tips to track and manage that, and a little bit about what John was saying, and hopefully have a lot of customers pouring into your business. So I get asked this a lot, what's the number one most important thing when attracting new customers? And really, there isn't one. There is no silver bullet. It takes really 3 blocks that you have to work on, each one. The first one is you've got to reach out in as many ways. And if you think about when you opened your business up, when you had no customers, what did you do? You had to reach out by the web. You had to do, probably you did direct mail at that time. You had a grand opening. You did all these things to get people to come into your business. And once your business open, really nothing changes. These things that you do just morph into new programs. The one thing that does change is you have customers now, so you can build a referral program. But reaching out to them and trying all the mediums that are out there, and there are a lot today, and finding out which ones work for you is really important. We're going to talk about some of the more popular ones today and that you can reach the most customers with.
Bill, just as a little color commentary, I hate to talk about your age, Bill, and mine, but you and I can both remember back when we were younger, when you had, 3 channels on television and maybe a public access channel or whatever, and you had newspaper and you had AM radio, which makes, to some people, make us sound awfully old. But your point about channels, I mean, there are so many ways that people get information and advertisement. It's ridiculous. I read a thing from Advertising Age that said the average consumer is exposed to about 180 commercial messages in one way, shape, or form every day. And that's just because everything is so segmented. So it's, yeah, I mean, when you say use the multiple channels, you gotta.
And you've got to stand out, which brings us to number 2. So, you know, once you get that customer with your marketing into your business, which is the goal of all of our outreach, is to get them into the business, you've got to wow the customer, and you've got to give them a reason to return. You're not going to probably sell everybody that walks in the door. That's your goal. But at the very least, you've got to give them a reason to return. You've got to, you know, impress them with your services. Your staff has to be spot on, and you have to really treat that person. I mean, that is gold when they walk through the door. Whether they purchase something or not, that was still a customer that saw your business for the first time. And when they go out in the community, they're going to share that experience. So it's really, really important what you do once you get them in the door.
It's the experience, Bill. I mean, really, people are investing money and time. You got to remember they're investing both in your tanning salons, and your experience has got to be superior over somebody that's offering $9.95 for, you know, tanning that you have to clean your own bed and whatever. So it's the experience.
And the third thing that's important is you've got to have a system to track and monitor the metrics. You know, you may do a radio ad and where John could tell me the numbers of what you could reach, and you may reach thousands of people. So the cost for that, in comparison to how many people you walk in the door, it's something that you need to track. You need to track what they're buying once they come in the door. Is your staff doing a good job once you've attracted them to the business? Was the offer that you gave this customer when they walked in the door hitting the mark? There are a lot of reasons why you may not convert that customer. We're going to talk about some of those today, but the goal is to track and monitor those results and try different things. If it's not working, don't give up. If you tried this, you need to find out why it didn't work, if it didn't work, and why it was successful if it was.
Bill, I also want to throw in something that you said before, is said giving them a reason to return and you know, then tracking the metrics. One thing I want to say, regardless of what the media is, and I tell people this all the time, the media, regardless of what it is, you pick any media that you want to use. Regardless of what the media is, all they can do, and this is my favorite phrase, is get people lathered up. But you mentioned staff before. The staff have to shave them. So, I mean, you can send a lot of people into the salon, but if your staff is not really taking care of them and taking care of business with selling them, then all your efforts, you know, are for naught.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with what I like to call Googling for customers. And the importance of a website, I can't, you know, it is just one of the most important things that you will have for your business. And some stats here quickly from Google is first page websites get 91.5% of the traffic. Really nobody goes beyond that. The second page is 4%. So you want to try and get on the first page. There are a lot of ways of doing that, but even if you're on the first page, you need to be sure that, and I was talking to John about this, it's like your website it's like a dating site. If you're on one of the dating sites, you're going to put your best picture on there. Once they click on that link, and you want to have that link when your salon comes up, you want to have a website because they can go to it. You've got to look good. You've got to look your best. It's got to be enticing.
Absolutely.
And you need to have a lot of components on there, which we're going to talk about, to make sure that now I've got you to my website. Now I have to get you to come into my store. That's just one step. You found me. Now I've got to draw you in. 95% of consumers search for a local business online in 2016. That's how important it is. They won't find your Facebook site in a search. They'll find your website. They'll find your business location if you come up, and they'll find your ratings, which are very important. So a couple tips for success. You know, your website's the first impression from your business, you have to wow them. You have to put on that website the best part of your business. You want to show them your best piece of equipment. You want to make sure that they understand what services you have. If you have Sunless, you want to make sure that that's out there. You want to make sure that they have other things that they can see, but it's got to really, really pop. I mean, it's got to be impressive. I've seen websites that people haven't updated for 10 years, and it's going to turn people away from you rather than towards your business. And you want to make sure it's a mobile-friendly website. If I can't click on it
absolutely,
and scroll through it on my phone and get to what I need to know on that first page by scrolling, which is...
that is so true.
Yeah. Which is, you know, the info that they're looking for. And what are they looking for? They're looking for coupons, for one thing. They're looking for location. Maps and things like that are generally going to be on there. But they're looking to see if you have the service they want. They're looking to see if it's an attractive location. And they're most likely going to be looking for a deal.
And that deal, Bill, is what we call, in the marketing terms, we call it a call to action. You want people to look at the site and say, boy, this is really professional. This really looks good. This is very inviting. Gee, I might go a few pages deep in here. I might look at all their equipment. Oh, this is all really nice. But you have to have a call to action, something, as you use the word pop, Bill, something that says, hey, here's something unique and special. It's, you know, register to win a month of free tanning or something like that. Because a month of free tanning hardly costs you anything, but it might get a lot of people engaged in your website. I mean, you need something that's not just a pretty website. You need to have a call of action. It should be on that first page.
Yeah, contests are good. Giveaways are good.
They are.
But you definitely want to let that, you definitely want to have an offer on there for first-time customers that they can see. They can either, and if your offer is good, you could have a barcode scan on that offer so they could just come in with their phone and show it to you. You could have a printed one if you want to, but the barcode scans are really the way to go now, so they can walk right in the door and get it. And coupon offers, refer a friend is so important on your website, and you want to make it easy for them to invite friends, and you want to be collecting emails on there. If you can get them to put their email in so that you can collect it for future offers, that's a wonderful thing to have, because email marketing it has the highest ROI that's out there. It blows away Facebook, it blows away direct mail. I mean, there's no doubt that email marketing is the biggest bang for your buck. But if you don't have their email addresses and have it set up, you can't take advantage of it.
Well, and Bill, another thing about email addresses, I mean, because we deal with so many different clients that are new or adopting new methods now to businesses that they've had around for quite a while. If you haven't sent out an email in 2 years, you might as well start over in collecting emails, because it's like bakery goods. They get stale real fast. So you have to really reinforce people again. And what you have to do is get your employees, you really got to get your employees to be getting those email signups. You need that really bad, because like you said, Bill, it is the best ROI. It can't get much better than, well, almost free, but it doesn't really cost you that much to do email.
Yeah, I've been in stores who, just to make sure they get the right email address, will have a kiosk out in the business where a new customer can go in and type in their address, and they get an immediate discount on their phone right then. So that
right, exactly.
That's something that they can scan in, so you know you have them. They've opted into your permission marketing program, which is very, very important to stay in touch with them on that.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Right then and there at the counter, you know that you've got their correct email address.
So reviews, gosh, who doesn't look at reviews these days? And you know, 54% of people will visit a website after reading positive reviews. This is the great thing about reviews. It also attracts them to your website. 84% of people trust an online review as much as a personal referral. That's how powerful it is. And 91% of consumers regularly or occasionally read online reviews. Online reviews are great, and the more you have, the better. I know we've all been shopping online, and you're deciding which brand to buy. I shop a lot for hiking equipment, and when I see, or if you go onto the App Store and you're searching for a specific app, if you see an app that's been reviewed 100 times and it's 4-star versus an app that's been reviewed 5 times, it's a 5-star, which one are you most likely to be gravitated towards? You're going to go towards the one that's been reviewed a lot because you know it's been purchased a lot. So it's the same thing with your reviews. Really, really is important that you try and get as many reviews out there as you can, because it shows the longevity of your success.
Absolutely. And the consistency.
Consistency. So, I mean, it's important to ask for reviews and have reviews up on your website. You've got your core customers who are willing to give you glowing reviews. You should have those on your website. It's important to really show everybody how well you've taken care of your customers, and this is good for your social media. It's good for your websites. Your social media should be, John, we talk about the 80-20 rule. You want to be giving them information and use those reviews on there.
Yeah, I mean, and Bill, I was going to comment on that too. Is that just sorry about that. Forgot to shut up my phone. Anyway, when you talk about the core customers, something that's really important is that where I would go for your core customers is I would look at what I would look at your higher level people. Let's say if you have 5 levels of tanning, I would go into your computer and look at your levels of 4 and 5, because they're tanning in higher level equipment. And what we tend to see is that there's more bonding of people in higher levels to the salon than to the lower levels, because the equipment has differentiation from your competition. So if they're tanning in something in a level 4 that looks like a spaceship, they're probably been with you longer, they're going to stay with you longer, they're spending more money, they're more committed to you, and they're probably happier with their tan. And those are the people I would approach to see if they'd give you that kind of a referral or that kind of a review. And you're right, Bill, that would be powerful.
Customer referrals. This is my favorite subject. This is the gold in your database. There's nothing more powerful than that. We know of all the major companies that have sold on friends and family. Friends and family are what, they are the gold. I mean, you can really tap into this. Your referral program should be woven into the facet of every part of the customer experience. You want this on your website, your Facebook site. You want to have a whole program set up that touches everybody and rewards them. It's the fastest way to establish your brand and grow revenue. It really, really is, especially when you have the core customers. Referrals drive new business. 92% of consumers trust referrals from people they know. Referrals are the primary factor between 20 to 50% of all purchasing decisions. And the one that I really like is referrals improve marketing effectiveness by 54%. So if I get an ad to you, or I get you to be interested in my business, and then I see that referral or get that referral from a friend, I'm hooked. I'm most likely going to go in and give it a shot.
Oh yeah.
It's just so important to get a referral program going and to have it wide-reaching and non-stop. This is something that you're working on. You're trying to get referrals in every day. Remember, new customer acquisition is about, if you think of a glass of water with a hole in the bottom of it, you're losing customers every day. And if you're not refreshing that by pouring water in the top to keep it full, eventually your glass will be half empty as opposed to full. And so you got to keep this this process going. So customer referrals and customer acquisition is a 24/7 thing. You have to have passive ways to do it, and then you have to get involved in other ways. So I love this this Uber ad. This is a great example of sort of a passive way to do it.
It really is. Yep.
And this is on Messenger. This is very unique. I mean, when you sign up for Uber, the first thing they do is you get a ride credit, and then they want you to send a ride credit to somebody else. They are really aggressive about getting you to download their app so that you will use their service. It's so important to make it easy for your customer to participate. Ease is probably the first thing. You've got to make it easy for me to do it. If you have on your website a place to refer friends, and I can open that up, put my email address in, and drop in 6 names, and a very professional email goes out to all those customers with a great offer to invite them in, and they're my friends, that's 6 at a time you can do. So it's a really quick way to do it. You need to have collateral in store that you can hand out to customers. You can, word of mouth is just the best way. You want to use all the channels. You want to make it worth their effort. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you've got to make it worth their effort to actually do this. So
well, and if they like the experience, they probably will do it without much regard. I mean, if they really like what they're seeing. So.
Oh, the power of a brand ambassador is just, I mean, there's nothing like it. There's basically 2 types of rewards program. You have a single incentive where you're only going to give the incentive to the person who refers it, and those are really tough, and people kind of feel guilty about that they're taking advantage of their friends. The best is a dual incentive where the referrer and the friend both get something from it. Those type of programs are wildly successful. You can do them in so many different ways to get the customer to come in with them. I mean, I've seen you have friends tan free days where bring a friend and you both tan free. Well, that's a great offer. And then you do the same thing. And again, you use multi-channel marketing to get all these offers out.
And Bill, some people will say, wait a minute now, the person comes in, brings a friend, and they both tan free. How do I make money out of that? And let's go back to what I had said earlier in your broadcast, is talking about how Target calculates the cost of customer acquisition. And that is the cost. So in other words, if you would have sold a tan or a single tan to that person that came in, but you're now giving it to them free, you can say, well, that cost me money. But really your raw cost, your variable cost on the tan is less than $1. So if you did that for that person and their friend, and you've acquired a new customer in addition to the original tanner, then that's money well worth it.
Yeah, and you will probably get anywhere from 20 to 50% of the people. When people have an obligation to buy when they're getting something free, and
they do. Yep.
This person has brought their friend in, and they're a patron of yours. They brought them in not to get a free tan for themselves. They brought them in because they want their friend to try it too. And the offer, and you're going to give that customer a tour. You're going to offer them a great deal. Their friend is going to know it's a great deal and back that up. And you're more than likely going to sell a lot of those. So you're going to acquire a lot of customers right off the bat. And again, this is another one of those, I've got you in there. Now, what do I do to acquire you? But when you've got the people that will refer their friends like this and come in, they're really doing it because they want their friends to tan with them.
Yes, and that's it makes only good sense.
So 77% of people that get rewards prefer a cash award. This is why bonus bucks work so great for an incentive like this. A bonus buck reward of $7 to $10 for bringing a new customer in it's bonus bucks towards retail purchases in your store. For instance, an $80 bottle of lotion that you've got $10 in. That's not a bad deal, but to that customer, they just got $10 towards that purchase. So if they've got 10 customers in, they've got $100 to spend. That's free, and so it really motivates them to bring customers in. I mean, there's no doubt that cash is the biggest motivator on that. Free services are also great, like we just mentioned, a free tan when you bring somebody in. But I think it needs to be more than that, don't you, John?
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too. I mean, years ago, 10, 15 years ago, there's probably a lot of things we could have done differently that might have been, shall we say, a little cheaper in terms of perceived cost, not necessarily perceived value, but perceived cost. But today, you got to step up. I mean, there's too much competition for the consumer out there. We need to get, it's one of the things, Bill, I see in the clients that I work with that have come to me and that have some issues where they've lost unique clients. If you look in your software, they've lost individual customers, and that's a bad cancer. That's something you have to correct. And this stuff that you're talking about today will help, improve that. But boy, losing unique customers, that's very costly.
And one of the big differences between sunless and UV tanning is I can bring somebody in for a free sunless tan, and they're going to get the results, and they're going to know they like it in the morning when they wake up, or maybe as soon as they step out of the booth. With UV tanning, you may or may not see results. I mean, you don't want to burn the customer, so it really takes a longer period of time. So I don't personally believe one free tan for UV tanning really does the trick to create a habit.
You are so right, sir. You are so right.
I think you need to give them several visits a week or so, and I think you also need to make sure they get in the big bed. I mean, you want to show them, again, it's like you're dating. If you do get that date, you want to take your date out to the nicest restaurant. You don't take them to McDonald's. You want to show off your best side and absolutely show them the finest that you have. Cost is important here, that they see the value of what you're doing. It's good that they see the value of, when I went into that spray tan booth, that was a $30 value. When I went into that high pressure bed, that was a $30 value. These things are important, that they understand the value, but that way it gives you a bouncing points to say, but this is what we can do for you now if you sign up within this certain period of time. And again, we're looking for members, EFT members. This is what we're looking for all the time, EFT members. And if you don't know the value of a membership in your store, John or I, you're the one would be helpful in finding that out. You do need to know the lifetime value of a customer, and so you understand how valuable that is if you hook them up, or the average tenure of EFT membership. So you understand the real value of signing them up. It really helps your program to be more aggressive when you understand that.
Oh, Bill, it's the annuity power of EFTs. People for years in our industry have sweated out the Jason months, and for good reason. You're paying an electrical bill and you don't have a tanner coming through the door. But if you go out of peak season and into post-season and to the non-peak season with more EFTs, yes, some of those people are going to cancel, and we have a way to keep them from canceling too. But you're going to have a lot more people. Bill, I know this sounds crazy. I've been telling people it's like taking a big plate of linguine and throwing it against the wall. You're going to have a few that are going to slide off of there, but you're going to have a lot of people that are going to carry you right through into the fourth quarter. And those people are, by the way, the easiest to resell to an EFT come January or February. And man, does it make a difference when you can pay your electrical bill, your air conditioning bill in August, because you've got some EFT revenue coming in.
And a good referral program will keep them signed up, because you're going to be giving them rewards for referrals. Those rewards can go towards a lot of things dangled out there in your EFT program, because rewards are everything with the EFT program.
Yep.
So what are our takeaways here? Marketing via referral programs, social networks, and word of mouth has definitely become the most effective means of building a loyal base of brand ambassadors. And that's what it's all about. We're building a base of customers who are members, and definitely want to keep working on that. We want to find the most successful way to engage your customers in both tone and strategy. It really is the key, and you have to test. If something doesn't work, try something else. Find out why it didn't work. Your offer may have been, and this is the key, your offer may have fallen flat. Once you got them in the door, your sales team may have fallen flat. Maybe you didn't reach enough people with the offer. You have to find out where the breakdown point was. So you've got to constantly, marketing is never, it's never ending. I like to say, constant and never ending improvement. You have to apply that to your marketing program. Dual incentives work best. And this is a big one. 72% of marketers are not taking advantage of referrals. in the marketplace are you. If you don't have a referral program, if you don't take anything away from this webinar at all, start a referral program tomorrow.
That sounds like the way that percentage, Bill, really sounds like a big opportunity when you figure that if your competition isn't doing it, wow, what a way to stand out.
And a lot of people that are doing it, they've just kind of set it up, but they're not monitoring it. They're not really driving it. They're not pushing it out there with emails and using all the mediums that they can to make sure it's continually taking pace. And you should have something up in your store that's constantly reminding customers that they can earn rewards through referrals. Should be in every tanning room. So, and now a subject near and dear to Mr. Farr, radio. And one of the things I put up there on this is it is cost effective. I hear a lot of salon owners say radio is just too expensive for me. In my own experience, before I let John go, I did radio, and I found that there were a lot of radio stations that were willing to trade out for services, to barter for better rates on my radio spots.
Yep.
And and what's that trade at? You give them tans. You give them they've got some kind of a contest going off. You give them a year's worth of free tanning that they can give away. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but you can definitely barter with them. And I'm going to let John talk a little bit more about radio.
Yeah, and Bill, I'm glad you hit that one subject about barter. Just to answer that and then get into a little more depth here, but I have a single, we've now dealt with, as a matter of fact, we're dealing right now with our 253rd tanning company, retail tanning company, as a consultant. So I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of salons that we've dealt with, but we have a single salon up in northern Wisconsin that's been, I'm happy to say it's been a consultant client of ours for, I believe, 13 years now. And the last 5 years with their radio up there, we haven't spent a single dime. We've done, and you were talking about trading out. They do an auction. What they do is we give them packages of 30 days of salon, or 30 days of tanning rather, and they'll sell it on their auction, and they give us either full price of what they sell it for. We don't get that in cash. I mean, the client doesn't get it in cash, but we get it in trade on their radio spots. And it's because radio spots have a certain margin to them, just like the canning does. So right now, I've got 2 stations in that market, and we've got, I think, more than 400 radio spots we haven't used. As a matter of fact, the client and I have been going back and forth for the past week here. Which things are we going to go after? What are we going to promote? But let me just jump into radio here for people just to start with. Radio is probably the most misunderstood media that any of us deal with, or that any of you deal with. And I say misunderstood. Facebook is not exactly an easy walk in the park either. Just one comment on Facebook. Take what Zuckerman has said, the creator of Facebook. He said, make it your 80-20 rule that you use on Facebook. And unfortunately, and Bill, I know you've seen this, and I know this is a little off radio, but I really want to make an emphasis on this. So many clients that we work with, and we look at their posts, their trail of posts, and we're seeing 100% of their posts are commercial posts, 20% off lotion, free tan, bring a friend, whatever. It's great stuff, but remember that Facebook is social media. That's what it's there for. So why a person goes on Facebook to tell me that they're sitting at a club somewhere having a sandwich, I don't know. Gee, I went to the store to get a jar of pickles. Who cares? But people do. People do it all the time. My kids, my grandkids, I watch their posts. So what Zuckerman is telling us, make your rule 80-20. 20% of your post on Facebook should be commercial and 80% should be non-commercial. And I can prove it to you because I can show you some of the posts we've done where we've done the cutest dog contest where everybody got to vote on who had the cutest dog. They posted their pictures and then they did the vote like 2 weeks later, and it takes your Facebook and just blows it up. But, all right, get back to radio for a second. Radio is more misunderstood than Facebook. It really is. I think radio is kind of like the man behind the curtain there in The Wizard of Oz. They really don't know how to pull those chains and make those things happen and all the fires appear or whatever. you shouldn't be afraid of radio. You just need to learn it. And it's kind of just, Bill, you having me on here kind of encourages me. I haven't done a webinar on radio for quite a while, and I should. But radio does work in many cases, and there's some cases where maybe it doesn't work as well as it should. But let me just give you some things to write down if you're interested in radio at all.
And write these down, because just this week, John, I had 3 calls from customers who were getting ready to do radio, and the toughest thing they were having trouble is writing the script.
Oh, that's, yeah, I mean, I've been doing, well, again, to let everybody know, I first bought radio in 1970, right after college, and I worked for the major record companies. And so I was writing radio copy for a group called Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Annie Murray and whatever, and you had to learn to make copy that was pretty effective and creative. But you had to learn how radio works too. So yeah, write this stuff down, because radio, the advantages of radio is demographically you can reach the audience that you want and when you want it, meaning that you can pick the day parts of their radio broadcast for when your spots are going to run. Now sometimes if you go with specific day parts, they may charge you a little bit more, but you can also buy what's called rotator rates, where they'll rotate them, and during the first part of the tanning season you're going to get pretty good placement on it, so it's not a big deal. But you can pick the age demographic and the gender. So what we're buying, and I was telling Bill before we got on, this year, in the last 6 weeks here, I've set up 37 different radio stations. My desk is just full of radio station rankings. I mean, I'm up to my ears in it right now, but I love what I do. And what we pick is, we pick females, and there's three different demographics we look for. We look for females 18 to 24, females 25 to 34, females 35 plus. There is a plethora of research out there that says those 3 age groups are very distinct. Typically 18 to 24, they're more single females. They don't spend as much money. They tend to tan more often during the peak. You get to 25 to 34-year-old females. Now you're getting into some soccer moms. They've got a little bit more money. But you get into those 35 plus, and that's kind of, Bill, what kind of shocks people. I think too many people have this paradigm in their mind that all of our tanners are, late teens or early 20s, and that's really not the case at all. There is hard research about how much business there is in that 35 plus tanner. Matter of fact, the Radio Advertising Bureau put out research a few years ago that said that about 40% of your tan dollars come from women 35 and older, and maybe that's not shocking to some of you, and because there are different age demos there, you have to pick out the right radio station. So, but the great thing about radio, you can reach the audience you want when you want it, and radio, by the way, is not going away. People will say, well, how about Sirius or satellite radio? Satellite radio is like a flea on the butt of an elephant. It's so small. Regular terrestrial radio that you can listen to in your car is huge, and it reaches 94% of consumers every week. Radio does. Think of this, guys. It's the first thing you do. Well, maybe not the first thing. You put your seatbelt on, but it's probably the first thing, other than the safety factors of driving your car, that you do. You turn your radio on, and radio is the last thing you hear when you're turning your car off. It's a fantastic media that way.
And people
average
become
consumer. Go ahead.
I was saying, people become, when you get in the morning, when you get in your car in the morning, you're listening to drive time radio of a specific station every morning when you get in. The same thing happens in the evening when you're on your way home.
No, and Bill, I'm glad you said that. The 2 most powerful day parts are what we call midday, which is 10 to 3, and then 3 to 7, which is what we call PM drive. Now, let me lay this on you people. Let me lay the females that are on this call, because you're going to find this kind of interesting. And matter of fact, I think you're going to say, oh, he's absolutely right. I didn't come up with this. Our Radio Advertising Bureau came up with this. That said that morning drive, although it's funny and a lot of ladies driving to work listen to it, whatever, it is not the most effective day part for tanning. And that's because their research shows that the average woman doesn't think about indulgence products or services until after she's gotten to work, settled in, blah, blah, blah. Because during her morning drive, she might be thinking about a conversation she just had with her husband or one she had last night, or she's taking kids to work, or she's thinking about that she has to meet with her boss today, whatever. And women are very unselfish that way when it comes to indulgence. They'll think about their families and, well, what am I going to serve for dinner tonight? Now, they get to work, they settle down, they're either streaming the radio signal through their computer or they're listening to their radio, and they're calmed down a little bit now. Things seem to make more sense. And now they start thinking about, gee, maybe after work tonight I'll stop and get my nails done, or maybe I'll stop and get a tan or whatever. And, of course, the PM drive, which is 4 to 7, anybody on this call that's got a tanning salon, if you look at your data, you're going to see that you do more tans consistently 4 to 7 than any other 3-hour time period in the week. And so it's knowing what to go after, and it's you know, when you know these things, it makes you a very smart shopper of radio. Radio is very cost effective because you're not paying for production. If you think about buying television spots, let me try to convince you, don't buy television. Television is a pain in the neck. It's very costly for production. And what I find when retailers buy TV, they tend to use the same television spot over and over and over because they spend so much money on it. And listeners are very loyal to radio. It's the go everywhere media. It gives you all kinds of promotional partnership opportunities with the station, as Bill referred to earlier, where you can do trade outs. A lot of the smaller markets have all these auctions I talked about, and it's incredibly flexible versus any other media. Take print. I don't know why you'd want to do print or direct mail, but just think about radio's flexibility. You're running a spot. Let's say you're running a spot right now. Like a lot of our radio stations now are running spots about the beauty of signing up for memberships. All right, pretty soon we're going to be putting on spot copy for spring break. Shortly after that, we're going to be coming up with spray tan spots, talking about spray tans for weddings, graduations, proms. You know, we're going to be hitting the air with those kind of spots. And you can do that. You've got so much flexibility. So you call your station account executive and say, I want to switch my spots now to spray tans for proms that are coming up. You can do that. They won't charge you for the production. You get to listen to it, make a final decision if that's what you want. We write radio copy every single week. So there's a lot of great advantages to radio. Now, just one quick thing, Bill, and I'll just turn it back to you. Where radio does not work, every once in a while I'll see a client, a tanning salon owner, he'll run radio or she'll run radio for 2 weeks and want to know why radio's not, you know, bringing her more business. Radio usage needs to be consistent, particularly in peak season. If you have any kind of radio budget, you run it now into, say, late April and maybe into May. I would not run radio in July and August because you're wasting your money. But during these peak, say 90 to 120 days in peak season, this is the time you want to be on. Does that mean you're on every week? I would be on at least 2 weeks out of the month, you know, rotating every other week. Or when it doesn't, go ahead, Bill.
No, go ahead. I was just going to.
I'd say the big part, too, is they choose the wrong format. I had a guy 3 months ago that came to me and wanted to know why he was not getting more action off his radio. And where was he running his radio? He was running it with a local affiliate of ESPN rather. And so it's a heavy male-dominated listening audience. You're not going to get anything with that. So you got to have the right formats. Now, what are the right formats? And you should write this down. There are 3 formats that are particularly powerful in radio. One is what we call CHR, or Contemporary Hit Radio. It's what Bill and I grew up with, what they call Top 40. And that's that's 18 to 24. And then you get what's called Hot AC, or Hot Adult Contemporary stations, and that's your 18 to 34 and actually 18 to 44, your soccer moms, whatever. And you get your 35 plus, well, actually even earlier than that too, is your contemporary country. Country has huge female demographics. It's because country changed in their playlist 25 years ago, and it's very popish now today. So, and then another thing is, if you put on weak copy, if you're just going to put on a copy that talks about your offer and you don't really get any kind of animation into it or whatever, people are not going to listen to it. You want to have spots on there that people will say to somebody else, because go back to Bill's comment about referral. You want someone to say to their friend, did you hear that spot on there about XYZ tanning? That is really a cute spot. Boy, that's something I'm going to remember. And Bill, there's so much more I could say. I'll shut up here. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and this brings it home, the real reason why I wanted John to talk about radio today is because when we talk about the internet and your website, you're getting attracting traffic from somebody who has decided to tan. So they are looking for a tanning salon and they find your website. The beauty of radio is you get to reach out to touch people and convince them to tan. In the radio, you get to build, it's very intimate what you can do with radio. It builds a brand. There's a voice to the brand. There's somebody, a lot of times, the DJ that's behind your brand. All these things can get customers to come into your door that maybe weren't even thinking about tanning at the time, but now it sounds like a good idea. So it's a way to reach out to them and get them motivated to come into the store before they decide to make that decision on their own. It's just a great medium to reach people.
And Bill, let me throw two things. You mentioned branding. Think about these phrases, guys. My bologna has a first name. It's OSCAR. Or have you driven a Ford lately? Or you remember, I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, blah, 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 blah. Or please don't squeeze the Charmin. You know, they paid that guy that did the Charmin commercials $1.5 million over his career. He died a few years ago. $1.5 million to look like some sleazy guy in a store squeezing a thing of Charmin. But the thing of it is on branding, you need to develop two brands in your market. You need to develop a branding as a service provider for an indulgence product, which is what tanning is, whether it's spray or UV, but you also need to develop a brand as an employer. And so when Bill's talking about radio, a lot of times with spots, what we'll do when we're recruiting, sometimes we'll talk about the wonderment of working at that salon. We'll actually do a radio spot on recruiting, and it makes a big difference. We get a lot of people come in off of that.
So we get asked the question a lot, what about the offer? You know, certain types of businesses are perfect for a free trial. Brick and mortar businesses, locations, or apps with services are number one. It is absolutely the number one for that type of trial. It takes the risk out of trying the service, especially with spray tanning. It creates foot traffic. Tour packages let them try all the equipment. The idea is to wow them, as we spoke before, and I won't spend long on this slide, but it's important to know that the average person tells 16.5 other people about a service they like. So even that customer that comes in, if you wow them and they don't buy, most likely they're going to tell average 16 people about how great it was. It's really, really good marketing. So you want to catch them all, but you need to understand getting them in the business and wowing them will pay off down the road if it doesn't pay off initially. We want to jump on to foot traffic. This is one of the things that I think is so important, as I look at websites where they show the front of the business and things like that, and you're showing your business again, it's you got to increase your curb appeal. When I drive by the store, it needs to catch my eye. If I'm walking by, and a lot of people get a lot of foot traffic in front of their stores, especially if you're in a busy shopping center with restaurants around lunchtime, your staff needs to be busy. They need to be doing something and not just sitting there at the front counter and looking like you don't have any business. First impressions really count, and it's important we talk about having your big bed up in the front of the store where you can open the doors and people can see
gorgeous.
it.
Yep.
When you're walking by and that glance, you have just a few minutes to make an impression. Your front window is everything. Your signage is everything.
It is.
Yep. You can use portable signs around your business whenever you're having sales. I love the new banner signs that you can have made. They're not expensive, but when you put that big flag out there, I always tell people when you're having a free tan weekend or a grand opening, of course you're going to put, you need to have signs out on the street, so you may not have that visibility, but it's got to catch their eye. So use all these tools to increase your curb appeal and get those people that are driving by to go, wow, think I'm going to go in there and get a tanner. Man, that place, I'm going to walk in and find out more information about this salon. Wonder what their pricing is. Those walk-ins where they just want to get some information are gold. You didn't have to pay anything for them. They just walked in the door, and you have a chance to sell them or show them the store, get them to tan right then. You do the same thing to that person that walks in as you do a new customer that came in with a coupon or anything else or an offer. So really, really work hard to impress them and increase your curb appeal. Your lobby is everything. Your front window is a window into the soul of your salon. Make it look good.
I like that, Bill. I like that a lot. The window to your, I like that. That's good.
All right, we're getting close to the end of the hour. We're going to get to our last topic here, which is process, track, and manage. You cannot improve it if you don't know if it worked. You got to decide on the metrics of each campaign. You have to take the time to make sure that your campaign is trackable. A lot of times you can do this in your software. You may have to do it by hand. It depends on how you're doing it. You need to know how many people responded to the campaign. You need to know how many people you reached. You need to know how many clients were acquired, and you definitely need to track the additional spend when they come in the door. That's really, really important. I got a new customer, and if you're not tracking the additional spend, did they buy a lotion? Did they upgrade? Did this person buy a package, a single visit, or a membership when they walked in the door? You need to really be tracking exactly what you're getting off these offers. You got to track the financial performance of all the programs. I mean, if you don't monitor it, you're not going to know what works and what doesn't work, and you're not going to know how to improve it. And you're always, remember, constant and never-ending improvement. You may drop a program because it's just not successful and go another way and pour all your marketing dollars into something that you're getting real rewards from. Any comments on that, John?
No, I mean, if you don't track it, if listen, it comes down to we got to keep score. I mean, and that's important for your employees as well too. I mean, they want to see that the salon is progressing in what it's doing, and that's a great way to raise morale. So yeah, if you don't track it, then I guess why do it? I mean, it's like, why would you watch the Kansas City Chiefs in your area, Bill, if they didn't keep score? Well, how was the game last night? Who won? Well, I don't know. They don't keep score. Nobody would watch.
And remember to add one more thing that we hadn't mentioned so far that I think works really good. Remember that your salon staff should be a part of this customer referral program. In my own locations, and I know a lot of other locations do that, the business cards, I had all my staff had their own business cards, and the business cards had a referral on the back of them. So whenever these people were out, or their family and friends, and if they were out in bars and enjoying themselves, they were passing these cards out, and we always had a contest for the most referrals every month. And so, I mean, you've got an active staff who knows more about your business than anything else. They're the best brand advocates you have. Let them be brand advocates outside of the business and reward them for it. So, the evolution of marketing. And I think, John, we've seen this a lot. The first thing that a new business does generally is they'll jump on social media pretty quick. Hopefully the website is the next thing they'll do. Then they'll start a referral program. But if you look at the market leader in your area, and you should always be looking at the market leader in your area to see what they're doing, because that's who you're really competing against. They will be on the first page of Google. They'll have smart social media. They'll have a good referral program, business-to-business partnerships, which we didn't talk about because we don't have enough time today, which are very important. They may or may not use text messaging. I don't think it's as important right now, although I know salons have had great success with it. Radio spots are really important, especially if you're having a free tan weekend or a grand opening. You should be all over the radio for that, because that's something that they can get people in there that day for you. That may not come in, that just go, oh my gosh, I'm in the area, I'm going by. Direct mail is something that's only really successful if you're doing it to your database. And this is about if you don't have their email address or something like that, sometimes you can use direct mail in. Every now and then you'll get a customer that picks up the piece that lives in the house and the person's moved out if it's an apartment. It's not as cost effective as it used to be. There are certain companies that do real well with it, like Bed Bath & Beyond, who hasn't received their big 20% off coupon. If you are going to do direct mail, do the oversized postcard. The return rate on that is 5%. Emails, number one, without a doubt, you want to be doing that. So that wraps it up today for us. Any closing comments, John?
No, I think you've hit a lot of good stuff, Bill, and you know, it's just it's getting people involved. I mean, I think a lot of times they're like the deer in the headlights, and they're not quite sure what to do, and so typically the decision is they don't do much. And you're in a business now that's highly competitive. I mean, Bill, you've been in this business a long time, 27 years for me, and I can tell you the business from 27 years ago, from 5 years ago, has changed. Today is an all-new tanning industry. But the positive side of it is that we've got chains and single salons that had one heck of a 2016 and are already starting a tremendous 2017. So it's, you know, it's kind of hate to say it, it's adopt or die, and it's not that difficult to adopt. It's just get educated and follow through.
And you know, back in the day, the big banner or the big display ad in the Yellow Pages was your number one draw.
Oh Lord!
I mean, that was your number one draw that you spent a lot of
That's
money.
right.
That's how everybody found you. That's been replaced by Google search. It's been replaced by Google. So you can get involved with the Yellow Pages. They can get you to the top of Google by paid ad. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get there. The most important thing is that once you're there, they need to be able to find out more about you, and a website is the only way that they're going to be able to. If you just, you know, everybody, when you go home today, just get out your phone, say find a tanning salon near me, see where you're at, see what a customer can find out about it, and see what they can find out about your competition. It will tell you a lot about where you're at.
And Bill, is there, before you sign off here, I don't see any questions, and I'm looking at your chat box. I don't know if if you're set up.
We don't have any questions. Let's see. Let's do answer questions. Aha, okay. We have, yes. Can you give samples of good referrals? Let's see. We had a comment about satellite radio. Mm-hmm. And that was, but the one big question was, can we give examples of customer referrals? I think we have given throughout the webinar some good samples of that. The big thing on the customer referral is you know, rewarding them both. I think there's no doubt that it's really, really important for you to understand that they need to have something free to come in, and then once it's free, it needs to be enough for them to become a habit. With sunless tan, that's one. We believe that with UV tanning, it's a week or at least 3 tans, and make sure you get them in the big beds. You want to show them the best you have, without a doubt.
I'm not seeing the chat things on my side, Bill, so maybe I'm doing it wrong here. But are there other questions that they've got?
That's what we've got right now. We got it covered. Okay.
Well, maybe we just answered everything. You were so brilliant, Bill. You took care of everything.
We had about 3 or 4 more that I saw that we had answered throughout the webinar. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good job, Mr. Mandry. Good job. And by the way, let me just say something commercially here, just for a second. I don't get any kind of a thing, any kind of a spiff from Heartland or from Bill or whatever. But I got to tell you, if you're thinking about spray tan, I mean, anytime I have a question on spray tan and how to market it, how to set up pricing programs for it, how to reward it with customers and employees, I always go to Bill. I would strongly recommend to you, as I have to my customers, if you want to talk to somebody that knows sunless, go to Bill Mandry. Bill knows his stuff. And Bill, I'm not saying that as flattery. I'm saying as a statement of fact. I don't know anybody in the business that knows Sunless as best as you do.
I appreciate that, John, and I want to also put a little plug in for Biz Weekly. There is so much content on there for you to look at in every facet of our industry, and a lot of knowledge has been built up over the last year at Biz Weekly, and just about every subject that you could possibly imagine to get information on. I highly recommend you go over there and have a look. We're going to be replaying this webinar. There'll be a link on there that you can replay this webinar, and so send it to friends, watch it again. And I think it's just a great resource for knowledge. There's no doubt about it. You can just, it's instant. You can get the whole year's worth of knowledge. It's all right there at your fingertips. I love it.
We've built, we've had on SunBiz, I'm just shocked. Our first year, we had more than 12,000 unique users of SunBiz Weekly. I never ever thought in our first year that we'd get that many people, but I think what it is just because we've touched on the new technologies instead of paper-based snail mail trade magazines. I'm not trying to take a shot at them, but what we have is something that most consumers can use because they use in their daily life every day, digital, and I think we just tapped into something that I'll just say we got lucky, but we've got a good staff.
And speaking of staff, I want to put a plug in for all the staff and the reps here at Heartland. They're here every day. They'll help you with your marketing. They'll help you with they're the pros. They know everything about all the products that you have in your salons, and we've got some great specials going on. I know we're just getting ready to do an email that's going out, and if you're not on our mail list, get on it. And we just have a wonderful staff here at Heartland, very, very knowledgeable, and a great group of people. We're here to help you. I mean, if you don't succeed, we don't succeed. So I hope everybody has an insane season. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I just put in there in case somebody wants to get a hold of me, Bill. I put the my email address in there.
Good.
So.
Yep. And so thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope to see you in the Think Tank next month. Thank you, John, so much for joining us.
I loved it, Bill. Always like working with you.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful week.